Yeah, you look
You
great.
always
Dude.
look pretty.
That's true.
Say it again.
Say it again. One time for the people in the back.
We have that on record?
Yes.
Yes.
So is it started?
Yeah.
It is starting. Hello. Welcome to Pankration
Welcome.
Philosophy. Thanks for joining us. And we'd like to welcome our guest, Ben Wada.
Yes.
Thank you, Ben. I'm Pocholo Cruz.
I'm Scott McDonald for another one.
Scotty Mizak.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Philosophizing on the art of
Philosophize.
pankration and the martial arts journey.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of which, Ben, how did you get started on your martial arts journey?
Ooh, I love that question. So I think we date it back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Is probably the beginning for me.
Nice.
You know, they put that in my brain. The
The martial
Master
arts.
Splinter.
Yeah, Master Splinter.
got me.
Okay.
But you know, I was a punk kid. Got in some street fights. Thought I was tough.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends was like, "Hey, there's a gym over here."
Watching the UFC like this.
I got this. I'm like, I kick his ass. I kick his ass. I kick his ass.
I just like how helpful your friend was. Like, hey,
You're
man.
just beating up some other little kid who comes out from the bushes. He's like, hey, there's a gym over here.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like in a video game. We're like, man, how do I get to the next level? Hey, man, there's a gym right there.
Exactly.
Just
So how old are you?
19.
Okay.
Okay.
So this friend tells you about this gym, and what's the name of the gym?
Alderwood Mixed Martial Arts.
Okay.
Under the fine tutelage of Eric Wiseman.
Okay. And so you get started there, and what about? So, how was that? So, because you know you're there, you're thinking like, so what were you thinking like coming in, and then what was like the realization?
Yeah.
As it,
So it was pretty epic, right? So I walk in the front door.
yeah.
Vern Beach is sitting there.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys know who Vern is. But he's a pretty epic dude.
I've met him once.
He's a
I've
big
met him
dude.
couple times, Yeah.
But he's real funny too. And so I come in and he's like, he's like, so what do you want? And I'm like, I want to be a fighter. I'm gonna fight. Give me a fight. Day
You
one.
just demanded.
Literally
You
day
just
one. I'm like,
demanded. You.
Give me five.
he's like, who is this guy? Of course, he signs me up, and I get beat up by some girls real bad.
Oh wow.
Damn.
Eric's like, hey, you know how to roll? I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
I have no idea. I have no idea. Even that.
Yes.
What that means.
I have no idea what you're saying.
You want me? And so, Reagan Benedetti choked me senseless like 4 or 5 times in a row. And
Okay.
So,
That was fun.
I want to ask this question. So, at that point, I feel like there's turning points for people. Is like, it would be sparring or rolling. Like, they just get turned off to it. I feel like, I'm not that I've seen like mass exodus from people when they join the gym, but I think you had a choice at that moment when you're getting fucked up. And so you decided to stick with it, and why?
Man, I fell in love with it right away. It was just something so pure about it, I mean, it really is an art form.
Yeah.
And it's like full body, mental, chess match, like all this into one,
Mhm.
And the gym was awesome at that time.
Yeah.
Charlie was still over there. There was a lot of fighters, and it was just like this, the aura when you walk in there,
Mhm.
and then to train with all these. I mean, I trained with a lot of the girls because that's how big I was,
Mhm.
and they were nasty. There were some nasty ones, and like it was just really fun, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and it was eye-opening for me in a lot of ways. It was just like, if this girl can choke me out, can you imagine what I can do if they teach me how to do it?
And I want to stay on track with your development and just like your amateur career and everything, but I have to ask this because I don't want to forget it. I've noticed with you when we watch fights together, you have like I feel like a very profound respect for female MMA fighters. Like it's just like this, and I think that probably has to do with your first experience. Is like that had to have been powerful, like because you just respect women's MMA in a whole different way than I've seen anyone else really respect it. Does that have something to do with it? Or
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
I never even really thought about that, like for me, I don't know, I was raised by my mom,
Yeah.
more than anybody else. And
Yeah.
So I have an affinity to women, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I think that's unique. So you go in there, you ask for a fight. You obviously don't get it. You obviously don't get a fight. You get rolled up, and then what kind of happens from there with Alderwood? Like, explain your career.
Yeah. So like, when did you start like competing? Like,
I think it was like 6 months in.
Okay,
I had my first fight, and Vern got me the fight. And I remember Eric being like, "Why would you let him fight that?" like this kid that I fought was like filthy. Like, I don't even remember what his name is, but the dude like
was it MMA or was it?
It was an MMA.
It was
fight.
an MMA fight. 6 months in. Wow.
But the dude was nasty. Like, his stand up was nasty. I remember. I mean, I didn't know anything. I was like, yeah, I'll fight him. I'm tough as shit. I'll knock his ass out.
Yeah.
But the dude came out and like, "Bob, kick, like, was just kicking me in the face and just like peppering me. But I was, the guys I was sparring with were twice my size. So anything he hit me with was like, I couldn't even feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt nothing that he hit me with. He kicked me in the face and it was just like, man, Alden Lee fucking whops me, bro. I get whopped by 185ers all day. Like, I'm not even feeling it. But I mean, brain damage is real either way. So.
But did you win? Did you win that one?
Oh yeah. I remember like it's so vividly. Even today, it was crazy. Like, so he was hitting me, and then at one point, I grabbed him by the face, and I just whomped him so hard with my right hand. Like, and I remember watching like in slow motion the spit fly out of his mouth. And then I like hit him a couple more times, and he shot in, and I choked him out.
What'd you choke him out with?
Guillotine?
Of course you did. He choked everybody with the guillotine. Okay. So then what? So then after that, what's kind of like, what starts to happen? You win your first MMA fight.
Well,
what begins?
First, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Man, there's nothing like winning a fight. Like, I mean, after day one, I was in there all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the second they open, I'm there.
Yeah.
To the second they close. And, I'm just... all of that culmination of training and just hours and hours and hours in the gym, like, even in 6 months, like, you can imagine how much gym time and how much mat time I got in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the culmination of that, and then to get your hand raised in front of all those people, and like, there's no high like that. You know? And then you're always chasing that. And I have an addictive personality, so, for me,
well, of course, I think
nothing better than that.
You probably realized you were good at it.
Well, I mean, I always have like this ego and pride, and I always think I'm better than everybody else at everything. It was a good way for me to prove that.
Mm-hmm. And then so after the victory and that kind of elation and that really unique experience, what happened going forward after that?
I just kept training and like just wanted that again. Was just chasing it. Started taking it more seriously. And, I think my coaches took me more seriously after that. So like, he really.
So because what I'm trying to get at is you became were you multiple weight champion or you? I think
I don't know.
I was like,
but
back then
but when you were coming up. It wasn't because
fight whoever.
Yeah, true.
No, because when you were coming up though,
130, 125.
But what we're talking about is when you were one of the guys in the lower weight classes that everybody knew about. That's what I'm saying. You go from this kind of obscure thing where you just walk into the gym, you don't get a fight, people don't think you're gonna do it, and then all of a sudden you continue to win, you get title belts, you fight some of the toughest guys in this area.
Yeah, just in the region.
So what started to happen? When did you start to take it more serious, and what was that like? Like, what was?
And when you say take it more seriously, like, what do you mean by that? Like, as in terms of, because I guess just because most people just don't understand like what training is. But what did you mean when you said you took it more seriously, and then when your trainers, I guess, took you more seriously?
Yeah. When was it like, okay, I'm investing a lot of energy into this.
So I mean, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I fell in love with it so quick, and I didn't have nothing else going on in my life, except substance abuse and like being a punk kid. So I mean, it was real easy for me to gravitate all my energy and time to this, and that's what I did. And it was I mean, I had always wanted something like that. I just didn't know what it was that I was looking for. And then when I found it, it was on, you know, and as much time as I could spend there. And, you know, I think I started out with Vern trying to coach me, and then Eric took over, and, you know, he was kind of like the fighter's coach or whatever. And, yeah, like, it was... I was ready from day one. I was ready to go and put everything into it on day one. But I don't think I understood what that took.
Right.
And the more I did it, the more I loved it. And then I realized I was good at it, and that was dangerous too. Yes.
Yeah. And so, like, would you... Because this, I feel like this is going to be an interesting podcast for a lot of reasons. Because you're probably the first guest that I can, like, ask this question to. You literally do have, like, a do or die mentality. And kind of, I want to say, like, an at-risk mentality. You know what I mean? Like, for some people, it's just like, this is a logical extension of the martial arts experiences. You know, we've talked to people like that, where people played baseball, or they were just athletes, or they grew up doing martial arts. For you, I feel like it was the thrill and the adrenaline, and just that, the weight of that drew you to it. Can you talk about kind of the costs, though, of that mentality? Like, what has that done, having that do or die mentality? Like, how has that manifested in your life? How did it manifest in your fighting style? And then we asked deep questions, so could you, like, unpack that a little bit? Because I feel like there's a lot of people coming in behind you who think like that, or they got into the game like that, you know?
Yeah, and I think the biggest issue, looking back on it now, is not having a coach or having, like, a team that really understood the game enough. Because back then, you know, it was just, you spar super hard, and whoever does the best in the sparring fights, and then, you know, it was all on toughness and grit. And nowadays we're starting to see a lot of, you know, CTE and all this brain trauma that people are getting, and it just... Training smart is very important, and I think that's the biggest thing that I would want to teach people and tell people about, is just training smart. And because I was ready to die in the cage, like, I didn't care, like, I didn't have anything to lose and everything to gain. So for me, and I know there's a lot of fighters out there like that just, it's everything to them, you know, and that's kind of the mentality you have to be the best in the world and to train at the highest level. And, like, you have to make sacrifices, but you also need to have people in your corner that are intelligent enough and know enough about the sport and brain trauma and everything else, that you're not sparring with guys twice your size. And, you know, touch sparring, and there's a lot of, like, technical stuff you can do and get good at without having to destroy your brain. And, you know, you watch a lot of these fighters get to the UFC, and by the time they get to the UFC, they've had immense amount of brain trauma it's, you know, not, there's no data for it, and there's no way to say, like, how hurt these guys really are. But I mean, I look at a guy like Robbie Lawler, who his last couple of fights, he didn't even spar before them. You know, he has one good training partner that he does positional stuff and, like, timing stuff with, but they don't hit each other in the face, and they're not trying to hurt each other in sparring. Because, like, what is he going to gain from that, really? You know. And at the end of the day, I think everybody needs to approach it like that.
Yeah, and so there's that portion of the do or die. I actually have another follow-up question with that. Is you talked about, like, I was
Trying to get me to say something.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I do on this. I'm in a different mode here. No, just for honesty, because I think the more vulnerable we get on this podcast, the more it helps other athletes, for sure. Because fighting is just kind of an extension of our personal life. And you know what? We've seen on the big stage what happens when people have this do or die addictive kind of personality. Even when they acquire this fame, it comes out and it manifests. That personality manifests within the sport and has consequences. First example, John Jones. John Jones, his addiction, his inability to truly deal with that in an honest and rigorous way has cost him a lot. Conor McGregor, right? And I mean, we see what's happening with Conor now, and I think October he's going to be fighting Khabib, but Conor has the same type of mentality. So I'm just saying, what's the importance of staying grounded, even as an amateur, just as a combat sports athlete? What is, like, for you, and, like, before you get to grounded, like, do you feel comfortable talking about how addiction has impacted you, right? Like in your life, and kind of the sport, I feel like for you replaced that. But how did that and you don't have to share everything, but can you speak to that, kind of how that impacted you?
So man, there's a lot of long-winded answers to those questions.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I definitely, I was selling drugs. All I was doing was drugs when I was 18, 19. And, that was my life and that was my thing. So to replace it with MMA was such a beautiful... it saved my life, bottom line. It really did save my life. And it gave me an outlet for all my energy and, there was a lot of energy that was wasted, And I remember there was one time I was rolling with Alden Lee, and he, we were rolling, and, this dude is nasty. He was a national championship wrestler, NCAA champ, and, dude was jacked and just, scary. And so I had a lot of respect for him, And I was rolling with him, and at the end of the, we were just chatting and talking, and he smokes a lot of weed, and we were talking about drugs and whatever, and he was like, you don't have to be that person anymore. You don't have to be Ben the fucking drug addict or pothead. You can be Ben the fighter. And it there was this profound moment where it clicked in my head that I don't have to be that person anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I mean that was very powerful for me. And martial arts is a beautiful thing because it can be so uplifting and it gives you self-confidence, and there wasn't a lot of that, for me. Mm. I was adopted, and all this stuff goes back to that, and at a certain point, it gave me a purpose, and then, I eventually started coaching, and that was an amazing thing for me to be able to give back, and it really made me have to deal with understanding the techniques, and because you really have to understand something if you're going to coach it to somebody else. Yeah. If they start asking you questions, you better have answers, right? Otherwise you look incompetent. But I mean, for me, there was just that addictive personality was so real, and I was everything was just all or nothing, do or die, everything all day. I would watch tape at night. I would watch tape when I woke up, and I would go to the gym at 12 o'clock, and I'd be there till 8 or 9 p.m., Eventually, they just gave me a job because I was there so much. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, there has to be something beyond it and outside of that. And eventually, you don't win every fight, something happens, and I think my substance abuse definitely started to leak into my life. I got to a point where I thought I was good enough that I wasn't scared anymore to get loaded in the off season or when I was just training. Mm-hmm. So I would smoke weed here and there. I'd win a fight and I'd go on a little bender, and it just got worse and worse to the point where I was smoking dope going into AMC, fucking training with you guys and world champions, and and that was the first time I lost my fight. Lost a fight was I started fucking slipping and thought I was good enough, and we did that grappling tournament, and the only person I lost to was you, and I was super loaded for that. It was bad. That was I didn't even sleep, and I was up all night doing shit, and the dude, I remember that dude Ben Pine or something I grappled with, and it was we went to overtime. And so it was the first takedown that won.
The one, yeah.
And I was up all night doing Eminari rolls on my girlfriend at the time. And she was like, "Can we just go to sleep?" And I was like, "Let me hit one more Eminari roll." 10 later, I'm still going.
Yeah.
And I hit the Eminari roll and I got the takedown.
I do remember
and
that.
Sudden death overtime against this guy that was legit. That was real good.
No, the guy was good. I remember that.
Yeah.
And that just fed my ego and my addict in my brain, and I was like, oh, I can compete at a high level doing this, so it's fine. And I'm better than everybody anyway, so it's fine, And eventually you get humbled in life.
I'm willing to bet
comes in on you.
Well, I'm willing to bet almost anything that is the same way like John Jones and those guys think for sure. Because
it's that adrenaline, like, or it's like, you know, that all or nothing mindset, the wildness that makes them attracted to MMA in the first place.
And what Ben just said though is like this, you start to get this, and I felt it too, this idea of invincibility because you've done something so difficult and then you've done it numerous times, so then you're just like, it can't go wrong. I can go ahead and dabble in this a little bit and I'll be fine. I won't get caught. I mean, I'm so good, I can just overcome this, and then eventually you have to come face to face with reality. You know, so but you explained, I mean, to dive a little deeper, I really am just fascinated with like the kind of the mental battle that you had to go through between like showing up and being a part of training camps. Like for me, you're like one of my main partners for a while there, and I just, in all honesty, I just always felt like I was like, I don't know when I'm going to see this guy again. It was like fucking touch and go there for a while, and that's why I put such an emphasis on trying to like keep tabs on you, because I knew how bad it could get, because it got bad for me at certain points. But what was it like just having to fight that, right? Because that's another fight, addiction. Like, you fight someone in the cage, you do that, that's a fight, but fighting addiction...
It's fighting yourself.
It's fighting yourself. What's that battle like? Or, during that time, like, when you were still competing versus now?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue, too, is when you're young, is you think you're invincible. And, really, experience is the best teacher for that, you know? And sometimes that's what it takes. And, you know, I was real hard-headed, and I always had to learn things the hard way. You know, my coach had to kick me in the head 10 times before I realized to get my hands up. And so, I mean, that was my biggest battle, was with myself and just trying, like, even when I lost that fight, Tyson Lynn kicked me in the face. And
I was there in the corner,
Like, I don't remember it happening, and I was like, I just remember winning the fight, and I was winning the fight the whole time, and he landed one kick, whatever. Like, for me...
And that was what you thought, like, afterwards? Or?
Yeah, and I was like, dude, I'll beat that guy 9 out of 10 times. He got lucky one time. Good for him, you know? And, you know, there is a lot of humility inside me, too. So, you know, I have this ego like everybody else does, but at a certain point, I know what's real, and nowadays, like, I mean, it took a lot to really get me to a point to accept my addiction and to take the steps to actually, because I mean, forever, like, there was no way I thought I'd be clean, like completely clean all the time.
Me neither, bro.
And I never even wanted that. You know? I was like, I at least want to like smoke some weed here and there. Now it's illegal, so it's like. All these fighters are like, oh, I do CBD oil all the time. I'm like, okay, that's cool, you know. Like, I'm sure there's health benefits to certain things, but for me,
it's different.
It's justification for. I mean, alcoholism is one of the worst things out there, and it's so like socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Like even binge drinking is like socially acceptable, and it's like.
Yeah.
I mean, all the fighters on The Ultimate Fighter are just, like, super drunk. Like, come at me, bro. Like, it's just, you know. So, at a certain point, you have to draw a line in your life. And for me, it was doing a bunch of jail time. So, sometimes that's, like, I learned the hard way. And that's what it took for me, was to really open my eyes and be dope sick in jail to realize that I, you know, maybe need to try something else. And, like, maybe need to change my life a little bit. And I don't know, it's... After going through that battle, there's like, fighting seems kind of silly to me these days. Well, like in my personal life, for me at least, I still have like a huge passion for MMA and like what it did for me, and it helped change my life and like gave me an outlet, and like I think it can do those positive things for so many people.
No doubt. And I think for you sit and you occupy an interesting space within our sport in terms of, like, I feel like when a lot of people say MMA saved their life, it's a cliche, and we kind of just look over that and you're just like, whatever, dude. It's not, it doesn't have the same significance when certain people say it. But when you say it, it's like looking at your life and having walked with you through all those changes and those really fucking hard moments where I'm looking at you through some glass, talking to you on the other side, and you're don't even have this much weight on you, and it's just scary. Like, they literally, you know what I mean? If it kept that at bay longer, or maybe even potential death at bay, it's a significant and true statement. So I feel like I never know who's gonna see these like podcasts, but like, do you feel like MMA for, like, let's say a younger generation, or like someone who struggled like you, do you feel like MMA is a healthy outlet? And if so, are there like pros and cons to it being an outlet for like your addiction or your poverty or your trauma? And we've asked a lot of people on this, like, hindsight, so like,
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like, the experiences I had, I wouldn't trade for anything. But I'm sure there's safer and better ways to occupy your time. But there's something so pure about combat sports, and like, it's translatable to anybody in any culture and any language. You can train with anybody, you know, and you know, athletics is very important for just humans in general to like occupy themselves when we're not, you know, because we don't hunt anymore. We don't, you know, it's not.
Yeah.
So it's like something that's like a primal need for us. And, you know, I think forever people have competed in some way or another.
right.
So in that sense, it's in our nature to do it. And so when we find it, it just makes sense to us. And I think it can be super healthy, and it was for me, and it like saved my life, like I said. But I think there's a correct way to do it, and there's a smart way to do anything, and that's the biggest test for me these days, is to try and like figure out what the right way is, and like where I can plant my seeds in the next generation of MMA fighters.
And that flows perfectly to my next question. And well, Ender, how old are you?
15?
Let's say like a 15-year-old Ben Wada comes up to you, you know what I mean? Or maybe let's just say 17, 18, and he's had like a series of struggles, and or maybe even older, and he's had a series of struggles with substance, and he's still training, he's having these successes, but there's that part of his life that he hasn't shared with anybody, and then you catch wind of it. This is super hypothetical, as you can tell. You catch wind of it.
Is there something you need to tell us?
Yeah. Ender's good. Okay. But I'm saying a young person who wants to get involved in the game, has that side of their life where addiction's present, or any type of just destructive activity is present, like, what do you say to them? Sitting where you're sitting now with sobriety, going through what you've gone through, what do you say to that young person?
I mean, like, there's nothing like experience, right? And to have gone through the same thing as certain people, like, that's the best way to reach somebody, is to actually have been where they went and done the things that they did, and have that real understanding. So, I mean, in that respect, I would have to relate to them and get to know them and understand what exactly their struggles were, to have a real conversation with them that could possibly change their lives. But I think I'm really good at that too, because I'm very compassionate and I really care about people. And that was the biggest thing that showed up for me when I was coaching. Was like, man, I really like people and I like helping people, and to see people gain that self-confidence, especially like women and people that didn't have that at all, to see them like feel strong and like know that they could defend themselves, like stuff like that is powerful. And you know, for me being a little guy, it was powerful for me because I was a small dude.
For us,
and like, you know, you got some big 200-pound guy messing with you. To know that like I could probably handle this dude regardless of how big he is, like, is empowering. And then to have the respect for it, that like I still wouldn't do anything. I would use my brain and my speech to negate the whole situation altogether.
Right.
Is even more powerful.
Right.
You know. So I think those are all very important parts and answers to that question.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
But it's really just about getting to know people and understanding what they've been through and learning how to help people.
Yeah, well, I guess on that, so like, in your battle with addiction, you have to conquer yourself. Like with that, and understand that you've done it yourself. Like what did you understand, and I guess in like what caused your addiction and overcoming it that would help. That you think would help.
Attraction, not promotion, bro.
Yeah.
I was just about to tell you that.
Yeah.
You can talk about it.
Yeah, that you think would help. Like what aided you in getting over your addiction.
I mean, I was a knucklehead, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think anybody could have told me anything that would have changed.
You had to experience that.
I had to experience it, and that was the biggest issue. Is a lot of kids are just like me and have to experience it, but sometimes they don't make it through to the other side.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't make it through to the other side.
A ton of people don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's rough, right? Because it's really a life or death thing at the end of the day, and it makes everything else seem kind of silly at a certain point, but hopefully, they say smarter people learn from other people's mistakes, right? So
Yeah.
Be smart or scared,
Be
whatever
smart.
works for
Be
you.
smart or scared.
Well, I
Fear
think
is a very good
motivator, no
Yeah.
doubt.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's exactly what Ben just said is in my experience, it's been being around people who have this similar struggle. Because what we both know to be a truth is that someone who hasn't had that struggle, they just have no idea why you could have one beer and then in a matter of hours have 6 more, and then in a matter of days be fucked off and have your job lost, and then in a matter of days possibly being in jail.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real reality for folks that struggle with addiction on a real sort of deep chemical imbalance level, and there's all sorts of ideas behind that, but it is about community, and I think if someone gets in a good MMA gym, they're able to get a strong sense of community, and then hopefully with more and more practice, and just because I feel like if someone shows up and they want to engage in martial arts and they have a self-esteem issue, the drugs have this weird sort of promise, this chemical reward they give your brain, so you don't have to face reality. You don't have to sit with your fucking self-esteem or your trauma, but
and your troubled thoughts.
But through fucking MMA, I experienced the whole jump in self-esteem. So I think there's a fine balance there. I'd add another question though, just back to kind of John Jones. When you look at his situation, what are your thoughts in regards to that? Having walked through addiction and having to walk through it every day, when you look at John Jones, this is a deep ass question, but do you look at someone who's remorseful? And this is a judgment, and I know you, on some ways you're compassionate to the situation, but do you look at someone who's in an amends process, or someone who's just kind of gonna keep doing what they're doing? Or I know it's a hard ass question.
That's a hard question to answer because it's really only John Jones knows how truthful and how sincere his amends process is going to be, and if he really is sorry for whatever happens. But at the end of the day, he's still a phenomenal athlete, and I think he still has a lot of time to grow, and I always give people the benefit of the doubt.
For
so
sure.
In my mind, I think he's learned a lot through these processes, and hopefully he'll come back stronger and won't have to make those mistakes again, and will help the next generation and the next generation understand what these struggles were. When someone like that can have those struggles, it's anybody can have those struggles, right? And everybody knows somebody nowadays that has some kind of struggle in one form or another.
Do you feel like I know the Demi Lovato thing's big right now too, but do you feel like John Jones, Demi Lovato, people in that situation get less sympathy because of their celebrity?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's real quick to point a finger. So, it's all about knowing that any of that can happen to anybody at any point, you know? And to have that kind of sympathy and understanding is very powerful. But I don't think a lot of people have gone through a lot of those struggles, so they don't. You know? And it's real easy to look at somebody and be like, oh, they're wrong. What they did was incorrect. But it's would you have not made those same mistakes if you were that person in their shoes?
In their brain, right?
In their brain.
In their brain. Yeah. And I feel like it just shows that it doesn't discriminate at all. It doesn't care about your class status. It doesn't care about your talent.
Yeah, how famous or how rich you are.
Yeah, it doesn't care.
Yeah.
And your talent, I think, in a lot of ways, like with John Jones, because I think about him a lot, not from honestly, not from a fucking judgmental standpoint. I look at it and I get it. I get the ego, right? Because he's in a sport that rewards his ego, and he is that good. But he's also in a sport that it's easier for him to hide.
Yeah.
It's easier for him to not have to face the actions of his behavior, other than a suspension for like the PEDs and things like that. But because of the talent and all the money he can make, I feel like a longer road. It may be a longer road for him. In terms of that, and that's, they don't ever talk about that. Like, damn, maybe he's got some substance issues. They don't talk about that. They're just like, it's like
nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah, they're like, next in MMA news, John Jones is gonna come back and get Cormier. It's like, oh, John got busted for some cocaine and he ran into a pregnant woman not too long ago. So isn't that?
But I think you bring up a good point where. Yeah, he can hide in that in terms of sports because his talent is so immense that the people there, they don't care about the substance abuse. They just care about using him really for his talent so that it pays them money. So they'll almost cover up that he has problems so that hey, does Matt John come back in and then without really even solving the situation. I think it's the same thing like with. In the NFL, there's a lot of domestic violence and a lot of there's a lot of people with problems that gets washed over because hey, this guy's a good athlete and we can keep making money off of them. Like it's that same thing. I think the way that's the way I see it. I think because I think that's why John Jones gets all. Because as much trouble as he gets, he does get aided a lot. But where is the aid coming from? I really don't think it's from an altruistic place. I think it's the fact that they know that he's a championship level quality fighter, and they know they're gonna get a lot of money out of him. That's how I look at it.
Well, it's like and I think about this too in terms of and you bring up a really brilliant point.
That's dark, man.
What'd you say?
That's dark.
Yeah, we're getting there. I mean, it's hard. Well, it's hard to think about too because if you even think about his road to recovery, it also can be marketable.
No.
The road to recovery. It's the greatest fucking story that's ever told, and they're doing it with Conor right now. Conor was probably on a coke bender, lost his goddamn mind, fucking destroyed property, malicious mischief, got no fucking charges, just community service, and guess what? It's the redemption story of the year. And it's fucking profitable.
Dude,
October. I'm just saying.
October, but
you got a coke problem, Connor? It don't matter. We're about to get this.
No, because they did the same thing. They did the same thing last year when John Jones fought Cormier for the second time. That's all they did in the promos. They go redemption, blah blah blah. From there. Yeah. And then as you just pointed out, I mean, just a couple days ago, they showed what they deemed. What was assault? A guy throwing trying to hurt people by throwing items at a bus that actually damage people from there, and they use that for the promotion because they know it's gonna sell. I mean that's the thing. At the time they called it the most disgusting thing, blah blah blah, whatever. But now they're using it for promo footage. Like, oh boy, fancy that, and then Conor goes to court, blah blah blah. But were we even surprised?
No, and did we think there was going to be actually?
Oh no,
he's going to pay restitution, but for him that's not shit. He's like, I don't want to have to pay this fucking money, Dana. And Dana's like, well, you're going to fight Khabib, so it's literally going to be pennies to you. Oh, okay. So it really, in a weird sort of way, it's like I don't expect, through no fault of their own, I don't expect guys in that position to have a genuine change. It's just there's not time. You don't have fucking time until shit just gets really bad.
I feel there's no time. There's also no incentive,
Right.
Because if anything, that's what's marketable. It's marketable to show, or they're using their, for marketing. Their imbalances or their wild side, and because that's what people want to see. As much as we laugh at the antics and all that of McGregor. I guess not even laugh, but also it's very engrossing. That's what people are tuned into, the drama.
Right.
You know, just like what Ben was talking about, Ultimate Fighter. You know, they fill those guys up with alcohol because they know it's going to cause drama. It's like any reality TV show. They're like, oh no, guess we'll just leave all this liquor here. Oh, nothing happens.
Pick these kids out because they know they're going to clash.
Exactly. Know? It's like...
They're like, damn, you have deep-rooted childhood issues.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to do great with this guy who's an authoritarian personality. Yeah. And then we're going to put liquor in the middle, and ratings are going to go like that.
No, exactly. That's what it is. It's conflict. It's drama. It's like... It's really just a psychology. It's not an experiment. It's a psychology test meant to go wrong. That's what it is.
Yeah. Period. And that's why it's like, and now our conversation is going in a totally different direction. But it's almost like your addiction. I feel like if you're an addicted person, like you are just deeply enmeshed in the lifestyle of addiction, right? Like. And you have no resources. You're subject to different forces than the celebrity, right?
Yes.
The police interact with you in a different way. The prison system will come and snatch you.
Yeah.
People are more likely to just be like, well, obviously you have no money, so we'll evict you. You'll be on the fucking street corner.
Exactly. It's a lot easier. No,
it's a lot quick. You hit your bottom a lot quicker, and if you stay there, I think it just shows the depth of your illness, right?
Yes.
And we all have choices, even amidst like our suffering. But that's why I worry about these guys like John and Connor, and in a lot of ways I think that the UFC and the way they reward people and they reward that behavior, it's almost like they are lining up these guys' road to destruction.
No,
just pure complete self-destruction.
No, exactly, and
that's how I feel.
No, but it's the thing. It's not like even it's not in a sinister sense. It's because they don't care. They don't care about them getting better, because them getting better doesn't really relate to them getting money. You know? So what? I mean, I guess them getting better enough. So that they fight for them, because that's what's important. It's important that Conor McGregor is like not in jail and can fight Khabib. It's important that John Jones eventually gets unsuspended and then can fight again. Like from there, that's what's important, because that's what makes the promotion money, right? It doesn't make the promotion money if like Conor McGregor becomes sober and a good person.
No,
that's not profitable.
It doesn't. And what happens? It's messy too.
Yeah,
it's messy, and so people won't ask the questions about addiction or about. Addiction when it's like blended with wealth, and they'll just sit back and go, shit, this is some fucking drama. It's just like Ultimate Fighter. It's just like I Love New York. It's just like the Kardashians. All this shit. And so you just watch and consume it without, and then the person's so distant from you because they're a personality themselves.
No, because it's like a celebrity. So but that's the thing. But because they've reached that, and it's like what Ben said. Like it's because you're from an upper status. It's even easier to tear you down from there. But if anything, they're in a worse spot to hit. That to get that recovery, because there is no incentive for them to get it, because the forces around them that propelled them up there aren't gonna help them get better.
Well, it's like the fucking story about John Jones hiding from USADA.
Yeah, like underneath the ring.
Like,
have you heard that story? Guy? Yeah. So apparently USADA came into like Jackson Wink. And then so is John here? And then John was there, but he didn't want to get tested, so he hid in like underneath the cage for like hours. Apparently, like it was so long he went to the bathroom underneath there.
He pissed under there.
Yeah.
It means if he had shorts on, it means he pulled his pants down, pulled his dick out.
Yeah.
He had to be laying horizontal, and he's just peeing, probably peeing in his own face.
No.
Definitely didn't hear this.
No, and that's
I don't want to hear that story either. Like I still like John Jones, and I still want to like John Jones. So,
but we can. It's just like this. We can love him. We can love John, but look at the behavior, bro. It's the same. It's the same thing in your mind where you would still coach that guy after he ran into a pregnant woman and then fled the fucking scene.
Yeah.
And then they're searching his car,
and he left his wallet.
The cop was like, "Bro, I think this is John Jones' car."
What makes you say that? Oh, his license is ready.
So here we laugh about
it.
So here we laugh about it, but in all actuality, from a human perspective, it's fucking sad.
Yeah.
And it's scary. And it's scary that it's like, okay, he'll be gone. No, he fought after that. And what did they do? They just threw it in the story.
Yeah.
In the little fucking trailer.
How will John Jones come back? And then the same thing. And then how will John Jones come back from the... And then...
Because, dude, I'll tell you right now, that's what... As an addict, that's what we do. Point blank period, when we're not well. We get opportunity after opportunity and we fucking blow it. Mm-hmm. Because we're sick. over and over. And that's why with John, I just like, I feel for him because I don't, and I hope just like Ben does that he has some people in his corner maybe who are like taking him to the rooms where he can get recovery, or like sitting down with him and he's actually around other people who aren't blowing up his ego, but he can go sit in these rooms with
yes men.
I know
that means.
no he but he can just sit down in a room with somebody who's probably poor as shit but is fighting the same issue as he's fighting.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that I hope will save him, is he'll just be like, fuck, like, okay, this is real.
Or understand, like, oh, hey, if you take away, like, what I have, like, that could have been me.
Because they said he fought UFC fights high on coke.
Yeah. Or he would just...
Didn't Chuck Liddell fight, like, all his fights high on coke?
I mean, I don't know if that's confirmed, but I have heard that.
Allegedly. When he fought Rashad, he definitely looked like he was on something. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, or have you seen that interview of like?
But can we still appreciate what he did?
Oh no.
Well, it's just like that dude who pitched a no hitter on acid.
Yeah, and when
the acid tabs went to his fucking leg.
Yeah, there was this pitcher in the '70s who was like high on acid and pitched a no hitter.
He was a bad too. He was a rebel.
Yeah, it's funny like hearing his story about it. He goes like, yeah, I didn't know I was on the starting lineup, but then coach said, yeah, man, you're up. I was like, oh shit.
There was a
That's crazy.
I wish we had like, we're gonna update our shit so we can probably one day we'll have like a computer screen here and we'll be able to show you video clips, because the one thing I did want to talk to you about is like I saw on Vice there was this martial arts gym that's designed to help soldiers with PTSD. And
I think I heard about that. Was that I think Kat Zingano or something was talking about that.
Yeah, and so what they do is they have these soldiers go and train with each other, and it's kind of like this specialized thing. And what happens in these guys' lives is that like some of them go in there after combat and they're on like 6 or 7 antidepressants, anxiety, and you know, for me, mental health we're no strangers to those battles. I think all of us have them, but some have them with more frequent regularity for sure. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting to see when these guys go into this gym, they're talking about their issues and then they're training, and slowly but surely what happens is like the amount of medication they're taking is lowered. Their weeks go by without incident. There's not a relapse in their symptoms. So I was gonna say or ask you, like, what do you think? How has martial arts helped your mental health and your overall wellness when you do participate? Like, can you talk about some of the benefits?
I mean,
because we talk about self-esteem, right?
Yeah, which is a huge part of it, and confidence is a huge part of it. But I mean, any kind of exercise is good for your mental health. You know, it releases all kinds of endorphins, and like health, exercise, and eating healthy is probably the most important thing for your mental health. Realistically,
no doubt.
Like, you can say whatever you want about. I mean, they're just throwing drugs at people left and right, but realistically, I can tell you for my mental health, the best thing that helped me is not do drugs.
Hear that, kids?
Not do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Think the drugs are helping, but they're really just making it worse.
Yeah.
So, key 1, don't do drugs. Key 2, eat healthy and exercise, whatever that is. And I think the amount of exercise that you get doing martial arts is like exacerbated, right?
It's like nothing else, dude. Yeah.
I mean, you can do a lot of working out, but then when you go to an MMA gym, it's a whole different animal, right?
Yeah.
You're doing a bunch of different cardio and, yeah, I mean, it's very powerful in so many different ways.
But I guess that's an interesting thing, though, that you bring up about, you know, mental health and
spirit.
Yeah, about mental health and how people try to solve it. You know, I think it's just almost that. I mean, I know Scott would say this about in terms of like it's almost like that American ideal or that capitalistic ideal of fixing something with like a magic pill. You know what I mean? Because it's a very
that's so fucking real.
No, it is, because that's the thing, because that's what's profitable. You know, that's what how pharmaceutical companies make their profits, right? Because like they don't make any money if people just ate right and exercise. Oh, man, Xanax. That's how you get it. No, it's true. It's like, cause think about it. That's not. It's you can't sell that. You can't sell eat healthy, exercise. I mean, you can, but it's like, well, people do, but it's not, not to the same extent, like as a magic pill, because people love magic pills and snake oil, man. That's what works. Like that's how people get.
You go to Asia though, they're just doing Tai Chi and eating
exactly.
rice, you know?
Yeah, no. We had our
maybe
previous
some
episode.
opium.
Yeah,
Wait,
maybe some. That's how they played soccer, right? They just like kicked.
But Pocholo, you're right, and like I know this for sure. Maybe we can go around because I think it's important for this to be on this podcast. Is when I am, because I have my challenges for sure, and I talked about them on the podcast with Morgan, and I know I've embraced them. I've embraced them as a part of like just the brain I was born with and things I did to my brain. I mean, I get better and I see improvements, but I do know when I am working out, and I'm especially like at AMC for example, because AMC hits it on 2 levels for me. First is just the intensity of the workout. I need that to sustain my attention and my emotional awareness to get through my fucking days. So when I have like 3 or 4 days of training at AMC, like I feel great. I feel more in control of my emotions. I feel more aware of my emotions, and also that's in conjunction with just my recovery in terms of not drinking. Like I go to meetings, I do that. I'm not afraid to fucking share that because it's how I stay strong. So that's the first thing is the workout. The second thing is the community. The community of other fighters and people who are passionate about something and who have a goal and who like, and I give kudos to Pocholo because I was going through a lot of shit before you reached back out to me and was like, hey, come hit some pads. I was just putting stupid shit in my body. I was drinking on and off. I was smoking. I was doing all this just shit that I look at now and I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You have this gift and you can be of service to others, but you're just destroying yourself. And you were just like, dude, come hit some pads. And I was like, literally, the hours leading up to it, I was just smoking a black and mild. I was like, this is going to be a shit show. This dude wants me to go hit pads. And I show up, I hit these pads just wheezing. But next thing you know, more people start coming over here. You brought Irvin over here, and then Vince showed up. And I'm like, that's it. Why did I fucking leave this? Because that shit is essential to my survival.
We're hitting pads after this, right?
yeah, I'm down. It's like this is essential to my survival. So it's the rigorous workout that I don't think you can get any.
Fight that kid.
Dude, Ender's getting
full on.
Not yet. Dude,
do you do drugs? This is what drugs do to your brain.
I have 6 belts at home. I'm gonna bring them all. You can have all of them.
Ender just drops with the right hand. He gets all the.
Ender walks in.
and then I'm like, all right, Ender, you knocked out my homie. Now it's my turn. I took those ugliest fucking uppercut. He sleeps me. He has my belts now. Ender Cleofi.
He walks in AMC with like 10 belts.
10-time champion. Yeah. So it's those 2 things, and it was hard to get back into training having been a fighter for sure. And I don't want to go on a fucking rant about that, but I've now settled into what my role can be and what's healthy for me, and it's just I literally don't know, because going to the gym right now for me is a part of me fighting for my fucking life, dude. Like just hell. It's like, and that sounds that really sucks.
Mental stability,
but I just need the stability. So yeah, man, it's real. It's real in the field.
No, it's true. I think that that community that's willing to help you is important, because it's hard to do it by yourself. If anything, just like the more isolated you feel, the more helpless you feel about it.
And I was isolating like a motherfucker too, bro. I was just like, I didn't even want to go into AMC. I just had created all this stuff in my head that wasn't true.
Yeah.
I was like, no one remembers me there. I wasn't shit. No, I'm just telling you how dark it got. I'm not shit. I was never good at this shit. I probably got brain damage, so fuck it.
I'm McDonald?
No, I know, but
what?
It's the lie. It's the mental obsession.
The lie's dead.
I'm just, and then to come back and realize that this is useful. This is powerful for people. This is powerful for me. This is spiritual. I don't need to go as hard as I used to. And to accept that I have no longer am I fighting. And I feel so comfortable saying that now. Like I was sparring on Tuesday, just literally just get my heart rate up, and Tony's like, Scott, you getting back in? You gonna fight again? I was like, no, I will never fight again. He's like, well, it's just, I said, I just look at the game different now, man, and I've had time to think, and that won't leave me, bro. So because of that, he's like, you just got educated, and I was like, yeah, I did. And other people who fight aren't, but it's just like I don't I don't want to compete anymore, and so that's also freeing too. Because now the people that want to fight, let's try to make sure you don't get your fucking noggin rocked. Let's try to make you better, you know, and just create some memorable moments in the intern. But anyway, rant over. Yeah, man.
So we're gonna hit pads, right?
That's actually the rest of the podcast.
Did you have anything you wanted to end on or summarize? Or?
Yeah.
This has been a good podcast, dude.
We should hit pads on the podcast.
Hey, I can go ahead now.
See, kids, the pad is addiction. Your fist is your resolution in community. Resolution. Community. Drugs. Addiction. It's not funny. It's real. You know? No matter what Joe Rogan tells you about DMT and shit. And...
Okay.
Well, thanks, bro.
Yeah, thank you, Ben.
Thanks for preaching that truth, man.
That's what I do.
We appreciate it. You gonna close it off, man?
Yeah, we'll close it off. Well, thank you for joining us here at Pankration Philosophy. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com. That's www.
If you want, because apparently no one wants to.
It's okay. We know who you are.
Get into them dates.
We're gonna treat you like how Resolution treats you.
Resolution, community, go. It works. It really does.
Oh, you don't want to subscribe?
It's the most forceful positivity I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
If we can get a sponsor.
We got money somehow.
Ender does this for free out of the kindness of his heart and soul. We need to pay this man because God knows I don't have the money.
Goddamn right. Jesus Christ, guys.
You know.
Oh. But yeah. Like, share, subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yeah. Fuck the UFC judges.
Yeah.
Fuck
Oh
'em.
God, you're so mad.
Yeah, I am mad. We should all be mad.
You're great.
Yeah.
Fair,
Who
balanced,
won that fight?
incredibly competent.
They need to be brought up on fucking robbery charges, bro. Because they participated in a robbery.
Yeah. Oh God. It's gonna be an asterisk next to that.
Oh
All right.
God.
Sign it out.
See you guys.
Yeah.